Williams to the Walk-On. I'm Trent Donald with John Watson and the community manager of the National Football League. No big deal. Osprey alum Christina Hovestadt. How you doing today, Christina?
Hi, thanks for having me. This is really exciting because I don't think I've ever done anything for UNF or anyone related to Jacksonville, so this is great.
For the first ones?
Yeah.
Yes, the first ones. So, Christina, what was your path like UNF to the NFL?
So my path was super unconventional, to be honest. I originally, I started off going to, at the time it was FCCJ. Now it's Florida State. I don't even know what it is, but that's FCS, whatever it is. And then I went my last 2 years to University of North Florida. And there I studied communication with an emphasis in public relations. Because at the time I also did like a lot of classes in broadcasting because at the time I wanted to work in sports broadcasting, but I kind of wasn't sure between that and PR. So after doing a bunch of internships, I did end up working in the news industry for Channel 4 and First Coast News in Jacksonville, Florida. But while I was there, I did that for a few years. I picked up a side job coaching high school volleyball because I had played volleyball in college and I just wanted to stay around the game. And to be honest, when you're first breaking into the news industry, you're not making a lot of money to survive. So I wanted extra money to be able to pay my bills. And when I started coaching at Atlantic Coast High School, I immediately recognized the impact that a coach could have on a player. And so it was crazy because I had gone to school and I was really excited. I'm finally working in the industry that I want to work in. And all of a sudden I have this heart change and I'm like, I feel like I would be more fulfilled if I actually worked with students. And so I'll kind of speed up the story because there's a lot of in-betweens, but I ended up being a high school teacher at Atlantic Coast High School and coach. And while I was at Atlantic Coast teaching, I taught a class for 11th and 12th graders who were kind of passed through the system, quote unquote, who couldn't pass a state standardized assessment in reading to graduate from high school. And so they immediately took my heart. I'm also serving as a mentor to the girls that I'm coaching. And Rashad Jennings, who was a really good friend of mine and is a really good friend of mine, we've known each other since we were like 20 years old. He played in the league for 8 years and he had a foundation that was just focused on literacy. So he had seen what I was doing in the classroom and he asked me to come over to his foundation. Originally I had said no because I felt like I had found kind of my purpose and what I felt like I could be doing for the rest of my life because I was so fulfilled. But then I had this kind of revelation of if I could have this much impact within this one school, how much more of an impact could I have on a global scale? Because Rashad was well known throughout the league as a starter for the Giants. And so I went over to his foundation. I ended up becoming executive director, ran his foundation for 4 years. And then the NFL called to see if I would be interested in working in community relations. And I took that job 2.5 years ago. So super unconventional, very long-winded, but my path is not just straight from college directly into what I wanted to do. The NFL was never a dream job for me. I wanted to stay in sports, but I felt like what in hindsight, I see that if you're just faithful where you are, when you're there, that'll lead you to where you're supposed to be and ultimately get to where you're going, wherever that is.
So when there's not a pandemic, happening in the world, what's your kind of day-to-day like as the community relations manager of the NFL?
Yeah, so we have 3 people that are in our department, community relations specifically. Actually, there's 4. And so each of us kind of take different initiatives that we run. So each of the teams give back, all 32 teams in a different way. Obviously, the players are passionate about certain causes, but the teams and the ownership are as well. And so they can give back in the ways that they want. But from a league level, we have 3 initiatives: Crucial Catch, which is the cancer platform; Salute to Service, which is military appreciation. And then we have Play 60 and Walter Payton Man of the Year that are implemented throughout all 32 teams. So my kind of day-to-day obviously shifts all the time, but essentially I work with the 32 teams to make sure that primarily Crucial Catch and Man of the Year, since those are the initiatives that I manage, are being implemented. I'm helping them with activations year round. And then also the big events: Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Combine, Pro Football Hall of Fame, Draft. All these events have us there a week leading up to the big game. And every day leading up to the game, we have a community event. And so I usually play point on some of those events and also obviously work with my team hand in hand to make sure that we execute those well every day leading up to the big game.
Have you been starstruck yet, Christina, at your job?
Did you say, have I been starstruck?
Yes.
No, I don't. It's weird. I've actually growing up, I never like wanted an autograph of anything. Like I always kind of wanted to be that trailblazer. So I haven't really been starstruck. There are some times that like I've met notable people that were really well known in different spaces. Like Martin Luther King Jr.'s niece. I'm good friends with her now. That kind of was starstruck because I'm like, he obviously revolutionized the world. There's just so many people like that I met. But in regards to athletes, and I think it also because my best friends were Shad Jennings, I haven't really been starstruck.
It's not
I
nice.
hope they're starstruck by me.
So does it get like overwhelming having to, basically manage some of the initiatives for some of these 32 teams, or does it get like streamline the process?
It's awesome. So we're lucky because the 32 teams really take ownership over what they're doing. We don't really implement or do anything like for the teams themselves. We just kind of consult and say that we're there for them and kind of stay in touch and have that relationship with them and really are able to amplify their efforts on a national level. So obviously like each team has social media that has a huge following, but at the end of the day, NFL is like a huge platform from the national level where our 32 teams and all the fans of all 32 teams are actually seeing what we're doing. So it's not really overwhelming. I would say when I first got to the league, I did learn very quickly the administrative side of emails, making sure that I had the right boxes and that I was replying because you just get so many emails. That's the most overwhelming, but once you find a system, it works.
So go back to UNF. What were your best memories at UNF when you were a student there?
What at UNF? I'm sorry.
What's the best memories at UNF you had when you were there?
The best memories. I had this campaigns class with Professor Doggett and PR, and she was just such a great professor because she made everything so relatable and she was funny and she was real. And it's interesting because you can have so many like experiences at UNF. And obviously I'm from Jacksonville, so it was a little different. Like the Jacksonville community wasn't super new to me and I lived there my entire life. But it's funny how many people you remember. Like I think my greatest memories would be from just the relationships that I built with not only the professors, but also my peers and the students that were with us. Like I think actually I still talk to this one girl every day. She ended up moving to New York where I live now. And she's a stylist for like the Chew and the Tamron Hall show. And we were in school studying the same thing, but she had a heart change too. And she went for styling with celebs and athletes. So it's cool that, you kind of run into your UNF alum in New York, just doing different things, some things they've studied and some things they haven't. So relationships are key coming out of college for sure.
So you've had a very interesting journey since you got your degree. What would you give, like, what kind of advice would you give to people who, really don't know what they want to do after college? Well, you knew what you wanted to do, but kind of it changed along the way.
Right. I get this question all the time. And to be honest, I'm so passionate about it because when I speak to students, the first question I ever ask them when I meet them is, how many of you are frustrated? And like everyone raises their hands. And the reason that I ask that is because I was in their shoes. And I want the people that are listening or the students that kind of feel like they might have a little something in their heart that they want to do, but they're not 100% sure of the steps to take, to know that it's normal, that it's okay, and they're not alone in that. And like I said earlier, in hindsight, you really notice how, even if like right now, especially during COVID, like there are not a lot of jobs available. And I had a student text me the other day and say, I know I shouldn't be this prideful or I shouldn't feel this way, but I'm like kind of embarrassed that I just took a job in a position that I never went to school for, that I didn't study for, and it's making minimum wage. And I said, I had to do the same thing because I graduated during the recession. And I learned things in hindsight there that if I wasn't present, I couldn't have taken those skills to where I was going next. And so there's this misconception of like, once you get into this one field, even if you didn't study in it, that you can never kind of reroute and go into your dream job. But that's just a misconception. You can leave. I mean, I told this girl yesterday, I said, Nicole, you can go across the you can be in California in 5 hours on a plane and be at your next job in 24 hours. Like nothing is forever. And just know that they're not alone, and be faithful where you are. Because like a running back, like Rashad, he had to be where his feet are on that field to even have a chance of getting in that end zone. And every single yard that he made, you have to go 1 yard before you can go 2. And every single yard or step that you make, whether it's in something that you studied or not, or if it's a different turn that you're not really sure of, you learn something if you're present and you're there. But if you're not present and you're always looking to the next thing, then you're going to miss what you're supposed to be learning right now.
So Christina, with the NFL, what are your favorite things to run for foundations throughout the year?
I think my favorite, I love everything I do, to be honest, and I'm really blessed to be able to say that. I have a personal tie to cancer. My grandfather had actually passed away from brain cancer 4 months before I took this job. And I had started, the interview process was very long. And so 4 days before he died, I actually got to tell him, I might take this job with the NFL. And he passed away. And right after, they told me, we'd like you to run Crucial Catch, which I return, ironic very loosely, because I don't believe in anything as coincidences. And I feel like everything does work together for our good. And so that, cancer in general I'm super passionate about helping people to get screenings in underserved communities if they're not able to, because I now have a tie to cancer that I didn't have before. Not that it wasn't important before, but it hits you in a different way when you're actually impacted by it. And then obviously, Man of the Year is amazing because you see all the things that these guys are doing in the community. And it's amazing. And you get to learn about them every single year and kind of help them where you can when they reach out. So I don't really have a favorite. I just like it all.
So are you a Jaguars fan? That's a prerequisite question here.
Of course, I'm from Jacksonville, Duval all the way. Rashad had played for the Giants, and so getting to work with them for 4 years was really a cool opportunity. And they kind of became like family. They're a really awesome organization, but I do love all 32 teams because I work with all 32.
Mm-hmm. And do you kind of see things from you see a lot of the good things that they do like off the field. Is there any like that notably speak out, like not really speak out to you, but like aren't higher up like on a ranking? I don't even know what this question is, honestly.
I got it, man.
No, I totally understand. And I'm not just saying this. I think whenever a guy's heart is in the right place, there's 2 different things. When you're an NFL player, everyone is asking you to do something, like everyone. And if you have a heart to give back and want to use your platform for good, you might, and I'm not exaggerating, have 150 emails in your inbox, or your agent might be hitting you up asking you to do 100 million different things for 100 different organizations. And so some of the players, like me, have a hard time saying no to a need and wanting to meet it if you can. And so for me, sometimes you can see that come across where it's like they might show up at an event and they love being there and they love giving back, but you might be able to see something in them that's like, man, they're actually really passionate about youth or literacy or mental health or vision or getting eyeglasses for kids. And that's what they want to be doing. And when you see those players kind of finally do so many of those one-off things that they decide to do, but then one clicks and they're like, man, like I've done 100 other things, but now I found the thing I'm really passionate about. When you see them start to operate more in that and taking more of those initiatives and more of those events, it's really beautiful. And you just see the passion light up in their eyes and they feel purposeful. So that's really fulfilling. And I think every guy, wants to give back, and a lot of them don't know where to start, but once they find it, it's really cool to see.
So John and I are really big fans of snacks, Christina. We're in quarantine season right now. What are your top 3 snacks you go to for?
Oh my gosh, I love these questions. This is great because I never get to answer stuff like this. So to be honest, when I came into quarantine in Jacksonville, and this is going to be the most boring answer ever, but I was like, I'm going to take this time and really like get my health back into shape and like just really go all out and work out every day and eat right. So to be honest, there's this place called Kathy's Table, and I'm not like, I don't get paid to say this, but there's this place called Kathy's Table, in Jacksonville, Florida, and they have gluten, dairy, and soy-free and sugar-free food, which sounds disgusting because it sounds like it have no taste.
Yes.
But there's these coconut bars that are chocolate, and I swear it tastes like they came out of like Ben and Jerry's shop or something. But they're like completely, I mean, they're probably not completely healthy, but they're healthier than maybe like a Snickers. So I haven't really ate any junk food, so I guess my snacks would just be my meals and my protein that I take every day. But if I could, it would be peanut butter M&Ms.
You mentioned Ben Jerry's. Went to Ben Jerry's last week. They had a flavor. It was called Netflix and Chilled. It's yes, it's awesome name. They have salted pretzel, fudge brownie, and peanut butter ice cream. It was phenomenal.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I love Ben and Jerry's. They have a non-dairy flavor that's like peanut butter and cookies. It's like my favorite ice cream ever.
That's a really hot take.
You can add that to my list.
John, what's your list of top snacks right now?
Top quarantine snacks? I gotta go Pop-Tarts, number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, gotta go with the little pretzel bites with a little bit of like, buffalo chicken dip. And number 3, I gotta go with ice cream cups from Chick-fil-A. With a little bit of chocolate syrup on the top.
Wow. That sounds amazing. That's really not good because I'm supposed to be working out today, but my self-control is I'm still trying to get better with that.
John and I, we're big Chick-fil-A guys. We're probably with Chick-fil-A probably 5 times a week at UNF.
So do you guys have it on campus when you went there?
Yes.
I don't remember having a Chick-fil-A on campus.
It's a luxury.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, Drew would hit me up. He'd be like, "Hey, Chicky Phil's run at 11?" I'd be like, "Might as well."
Yeah, I would have that as like an auto responder if I'm in class, like in class, but going later? ?
Exactly. So, I guess my last question here is: being from Jacksonville, there's a few good, sandwich shops around town. You got Angie's, you got other ones like Luby's. You got a favorite?
Oh my gosh, mine. I always went to Angie's.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I played college volleyball, like freshman and sophomore year, my whole team would go to Angie's like all the time. And every time I come back here, like I'm not gonna lie, when I first got back here, I went there and I took my cousins who were in town, and those little crunchy things that you put on the Peruvian. I even had Peruvian sauce in New York this last year. When I came, I bought it and took it back up there. So that's my favorite in Jacksonville. What about you guys?
So we're both Angie's guys. I have a really unique. It is a tuna sandwich with Fritos, spicy ranch.
Oh.
It sounds bad, but it's actually pretty good.
That sounds like something at like Chicken Salad Chip. You guys been there?
No.
Yeah, it sounds like they have like different chicken salads, but with different like flavors. Not with Fritos, so I'm gonna have to try that too.
It's phenomenal.
Sounds like a category where like kale chips fall into. Too healthy for me.
Those are the worst.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a kale chip person, that's for sure.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Maybe kale chips with like chocolate or something. I don't know. That sounds disgusting.
Because we asked a guest. She was a Marlins host, and we asked back was kale chips, and our faces were like disgusted at what she said.
Yeah, that's like a have to. Like, I don't know. That's if I don't know. I was gonna say if I'm dying, but that doesn't sound right.
It's like green juice level,
Yeah, exactly. I feel you guys. I'm on the same page as Jacksonville. Somewhat Jacksonville people understand. Florida people. But she was from the Marlins, though, huh? No shade, but.
Yikes! Shots were fired in the.
There were no shots fired here. You know what I mean?
We got you. My last question, Christina, is like for me, I had a job with the baseball this summer, but COVID-19 kind of derailed that. For a guy like me with kind of like an unplanned kind of accident like that, how should I kind of proceed to like find jobs? Do you think?
Yeah, in regards to like finding jobs in the midst of all of this.
Exactly.
Honestly, I feel like, and it's gonna sound cliche, but I always say that people kind of roll their eyes when I give them like cliche sayings, but I always say that if something's cliche, it's likely that it's important if it's repeated over and over again. And so I would say honestly, like going into LinkedIn, getting into groups where people post, checking every single day if that's something that's really important to you is getting a job. But like I said earlier, like, people need to be open. I mean, shoot, if I were in the situation where I didn't have a job and I needed to pay bills, or I just wanted some kind of experience, like, let's say you want to work in sports specifically, you can learn the same exact skills that I do at the NFL in a different company that has nothing to do with sports. It might not be quote unquote as glamorous, but like, the NFL is a business, and like, baseball is a business. So when you go into the team or you go into the league office, you're doing marketing, you're doing finance, you're doing accounting, you're doing social media. Every single thing is the same exact thing you're doing at the NFL, just doesn't involve seeing out on a football field. So not neglecting, like, okay, I see this position's open. It's not necessarily what I want to do, but hey, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to learn some things during COVID. And worst case is leave. I'm not advocating like jump ship every 5 seconds, things get uncomfortable, you're not happy, because despite what the world says, I don't think you're supposed to be happy, quote unquote, 24/7. Like, your mental health should be in place and all that. But like, as far as being happy and everything catering to you, you never grow in that. The times that I've grown the most are the times that I've been challenged, that I've been uncomfortable, that people have said, I want you to get up and move to New York when you've lived in Virginia and Florida your whole life, that sort of thing. So just keep looking where you're going to look, but be open to expanding your search outside of just sports.
For sure. I think it's like really good insight from you today, and you've had such an interesting journey that I think a lot of people can learn from that.
Thank you. It's an interesting story, but I like to share it because it's not this like, I've worked my entire life to get here and I'm here. It's like, I want to, and here's one thing that I'll leave you guys with. And like, for me, to find fulfillment and true purpose in your life, you really just love the people in front of you, regardless if they're in the next cube, the next office, on the field, the CEO, the janitor, again, something cliche. But if you love the people and you treat the people in front of you well in that moment, whether you're going to the gym or, you're going through a drive-through, you're going to Chick-fil-A like you always do, whatever it is, those relationships will always come back tenfold. And you don't do that to get something from that relationship. You do that to genuinely serve the person in front of you, and you'll see how that'll all work together for your good at the end of the day, and to not overcomplicate it. Like, I'm going on a rant now, but like, don't overcomplicate being fulfilled in a job, because again, misconception is I have to be happy 24/7. And if I don't feel 100% fulfilled in where I'm at now, then I'm never going to get to where I want to go. And that's just not the case. So just be faithful where you are and love the person in front of you without any ulterior motive, or without just trying to network and get something, and actually serve them. And that'll serve you well in the long run.
Wise words from the Osprey alum to the NFL. Christina Hovestadt. Thanks so much for your time, Christina.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.